With the original Castle of Heart, released back in 2018 as a Switch exclusive, developer 7 Levels decided they wanted to bring back really old-school action platforming to the market. One that gave us the difficulty of yesteryear, wrapped in a shiny new hardware package. Castle of Heart managed to earn a reputation for being quite difficult, but not always for the right reasons. 7 years on, 7 Levels have half remastered, half remade Castle of Heart, with a significant number of improvements, both visually and behind the scenes, to make this the definitive version, and they haven't skimped on the difficulty in the process. Castle of Heart's story is one we've heard countless times in the fantasy genre. An evil wizard gains too much power through shady, otherworldly dealings and begins to subjugate the world. One priestess dares to stand against him, earning the wizard's wrath, and then a brave knight stands up to the wizard to protect the priestess. The wizard abducts the priestess and turns everyone else into stone. But don't you know it, thanks to the priestess's tear, the knight is only partly transformed. Grabbing his sword, he goes on a mission to rescue the princess, slay the wizard, and hopefully undo the curse before it does him in fully. As the brave knight, you have 20 visually distinct levels to survive, along with a handful of bosses to slay on the way to saving your love and yourself. While the knight is mobile, the curse is still active, slowly turning him to stone as you fight your way to salvation. Health pickups from the environment and defeated enemies will restore a portion of your health, but you're always on a strict time limit, watching it whittle away as you charge across each stage. And charge you will have to, if you want to make it to the end before crumbling into stone. As the knight, you can dual-wield weapons for extra damage, block attacks, dodge roll out the way, and jump high enough to put most superheroes to shame. All of these skills you'll need to chain together on a regular basis. You'll want to dual-wield, whether that's with swords or crossbows, to deal extra damage, because every bit of health you save makes the difference between life and death. With your health always depleting, losing too much of it causes your arm to shatter, and eventually the rest of your body follows suit. Getting through enemy encounters and environmental traps as quickly as possible is therefore paramount to your survival. The stages are littered with health pickups and enemies drop slivers of health on death, while hitting a checkpoint restores you fully before the next section. However, between the damage dealt by enemies, which increases in later stages, and how long it may take to get through an encounter, you always feel like you're on the back foot. Even with gems hidden throughout each stage that increase your total health, it always feels like you're one step away from crumbling to dust. The sense of urgency is very real. That said, enemy encounters have been retooled. Unblockable attacks now have a visual prompt, and early enemies don't take as many swings to put down. You can get caught between them though, which makes for some troublesome times, but thankfully, your dodge roll also knocks down enemies to create some valuable breathing room. Enemy placement can be a bit of a pain and feel unfair at times, such as projectile enemies at the lip of a jump you need to reach, or flying enemies going about their business on a rope you need to swing on. Stages are very linear, but the developers build upon each environmental design after they've introduced it in early levels. Before long, you'll be swinging across large gaps to land on collapsing platforms, jumping over spikes and leaping into a group of enemies. These are some of the best moments of the game and require you to be absolutely on point to make it through. There's no room for even a tiny misstep in these sequences. That said, instant death haunts you on just about every step of your journey. Miss time a swing or jump too late from those floorboards, it's curtains and right back to the last checkpoint. To mitigate the number of instant deaths in the game, the developers have liberally placed checkpoints around the stages and give you infinite lives. There's no game over screen here, just another chance to get it right. Well, that is appreciated. It doesn't mitigate how unforgiving certain instant death platforming sequences can feel, such as having to make it to the top of a flooding mine before the water catches you, or even a split-second delay in your response time determines whether you succeed or not. Castle of Heart Retold has been rebuilt with better textures and materials, improved meshes and geometry, and significant lighting improvements. It is, quite simply, gorgeous, with much of the game falling into screenshot-worthy status. The 3D world with a 2.5D perspective makes for a stunning spectacle, with multiple layers of scenery adding tons of depth to each location. Animations have been improved as well, for both our hero knight and the various enemies you'll encounter, making the game feel closer to a remake than a remaster at times. While it seems the bulk of the original's issues have been addressed, such as combat difficulty, control issues, visual quality, and a complete script rewrite, Castle of Heart Retold still has some issues that keep it from old-school greatness. While encounters may be visually distinct, with each area introducing new ones that fit the biome, attack patterns are repeated. Later encounters are less about learning and exploiting new movesets, and more about dealing with more incoming damage. This may make it easier to use the same tricks to defeat them, but between the escalating damage and your life draining away, I found it made more sense to just jump over enemies and rush past those that I could. Another issue that increases the difficulty is a common problem that most multi-layered 2D games suffer from: foreground elements obstructing the action. That happens in quite a bit of Castle of Heart Retold, especially in the sliding sequences. Yes, it makes the game look beautiful, but when the tree trunk or rock in the foreground hides the edge of a cliff or drop from a roof at any point in a long platforming sequence, it can feel infuriating. On the whole, Castle of Heart Retold is a great remake remaster of an existing game that focuses on fixing the original release's problem while bringing back old-school action platformer difficulty. With a beautiful visual upgrade and plenty of tense set pieces, it'll suit those in the mood for a significant challenge from their platformers. If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow.